Hello beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. My name is Aminah, and if you're new here on this channel, I talk all things Black queer liberation and life living abroad. If you're into something like that, make sure you like this video, make sure you hit subscribe, turn on ring the bell for post notifications so you know if I want to make a new video. So this video is actually requested, so I want to give a special shout out. The also will be right up here, y'all can read it, by one of my subscribers, Jagaleo. They said, "Hi Aminah," which, y'all, my name is spelled like this, not like that. But it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. They said, "Hey Aminah, could you talk about the pros and cons of being single?" So I feel like dating is not something I talk about heavy on my channel. It's not really something I've avoided, but also not really something I've talked a lot about. But I feel like everyone always talks about dating, so I just feel like I am sadly very single, so I think that's why I've kind of avoided it. But here on Aminah's Adventures, we give the people what they want, with boundaries, of course. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about, in my perspective as a Black queer person and living abroad, the pros and cons of being single. So let's get into it. So a little bit about me. As y'all know, I'm a queer person, so I identify as a trans-masculine, non-binary person. With that being said, I also identify, so that y'all have some idea of like who I'm attracted to and who I'm dating, I identify as pansexual. Basically what that means to me is the gender of someone does not define my attraction to them. With that being said, I've dated people of all genders, and another thing I think is important to mention is that I have been single, like I have not been in a committed relationship for about maybe 4 or 5 years now, which I feel embarrassed by because, I mean, I've dated obviously, but I feel like that's a long time. But with COVID and everything, I feel like it's normal, or at least that's what I'm telling myself. But my current situation is I am dating. I am open to a relationship. Yeah, so let's get into these pros and cons. I think different things will come up as I go along with them. But the inner me wants to start with the cons because I always like to end on a good note. So we're gonna end with the pros, but start with the cons. So let's get started. The pros and cons of being single, living abroad as Black and queer. Let's get into it. So the first con I feel like is important to talk about is, and I think it's the most obvious, is that it gets lonely. And that's just real. Like, I think loneliness is real, it's valid, it happens. I've had plenty of times over this journey where I felt lonely. And I think maybe having a partner during those times maybe would have made it feel not as lonely. So I don't really know what else to say about that because I feel like everyone knows to some extent what it feels like to feel lonely. It sucks, but yeah. So that's the first con. Con number 2. So I feel like this applies to just solo traveling in general. I feel like when you're solo, when you don't have a partner or something, I feel like life abroad, you kind of always have to be on guard. I notice myself when I'm walking around by myself, when I'm walking around with other people, I have a certain different level of alertness and awareness. Not because like I'm letting my guard down, but because when you're with more people, you're able to, I don't know, if something goes down, like there's more than one person that can interpret it, and like, you know, something can go into action. When it's like by myself, like I have to be aware of everything. I have to be aware of my surroundings. I have to be aware of like everything at all times, which can be exhausting. So I feel like sometimes life with a partner can just feel a little bit lighter in that way of just being able to navigate the world with another pair of eyes. I don't know, I think it just helps. All right, con number 3, and I feel like this should be number 1 for me because honestly it's just real. But number 3 is less physical touch. I guess less intimacy, which is something I'm trying to work on. So for me, my number one love language is physical touch. And like I need just all of it, you know what I mean? With that being said, I know many people say, oh, well, you can get physical touch in other ways. And I feel like when you're living abroad or like when you're traveling, I feel like it's more of a travel thing because yeah, it's different. You're like always meeting new people. And I think for me, while like, you know, I'll always like hug people, not always hug people because of COVID, because you gotta be careful in these streets because oh, you're nasty. But like I hug people and like all that stuff like that. But like intentional, consistent physical touch, I feel like that's something I have to build with someone that like, not necessarily I have to be in a relationship with, because I've known people that I've been dating that we, you know, that's like a a normal thing of like hugging, kissing, whatever the case might be. For me, like that takes time. So like when I'm going to new places, when I'm meeting new people, it takes time to like build that up. So it's like in the meantime, I'm sitting here touch deprived, like, and it just, I guess for me, it just, the emotional toll of like, I think I've learned that for me, just engaging into like completely meaningless, because I feel like sex can be cool, like you can have casual sex and it be healthy and things like that, but like just hookups and random things like that is just not my thing. And I need to at least know something that's up here and in here before I can go to that level with you. And that takes time to build, and like it takes time to intentionally create. So I feel like being single, I don't know why I'm in a relationship, it's just like I could just be like, can we cuddle? Or you know what I mean? And it's a lot easier. So yeah. I feel like that's my biggest problem being single, but we will digress from that one. Number 4, I would say another con about being single and being abroad is that you can't share expenses, which sounds weird, but I feel like it's so valid. Like when I go certain places, it's like I can't, like, you can't split the rent with someone, you can't split the stay with someone. So it kind of sucks. Like it can get a little bit, I feel like the costs of dating and all that stuff, like it goes back and forth. But I think one con of being single is you don't have someone to share the expenses of room or of different things that you could probably split, like taxes and stuff like that. So that kind of sucks. Number 5, and I think this is really important. The one con of being single is that when you are in a relationship, I feel like you grow so much. Like you grow so much and you grow in such unique ways within relationships. Like even when like I've had people like during this time that like we've dated and like maybe things were going to a place of possibly going to a relationship, and that dynamic itself challenge me in so many ways, because they tell you like usually your partner is the person that's gonna trigger you the most, because they're gonna be doing the things, or you're gonna be seeing the things that like mess with you the most, that probably the things that were way down there in your subconscious or in your trauma or whatever, and they bring that stuff out. And it's not because it's bad, but it's just like you're forced to sit with these things. And as a person that I'm like, sometimes I just I feel like sometimes I like healing a little bit too much, but sometimes the shit sucks. But I feel like it can be a beautiful thing to be able to be in partnership with someone and have that intentional connection of growing and learning and evolving and sitting with things, and when things come up, talking about them and having conversations, and I don't know, like all that stuff. Like I love it. All right, number 6, and the last con that I have is that dating is expensive. Like I feel like now that I date queer in a queer way, like it's not necessarily like, oh, like the masculine person or the man is going to pay or anything like that. Like it costs money to meet up with people, and like you can like say like, oh, let's go meet in a park, but like honestly, the easiest dates, or the safest dates sometimes, is just meeting at a coffee shop or meeting to get something to eat. But it's like that adds up, and I'm not trying to invite you to my house because I'm trying to cook and save money, but I'm not gonna invite you to my house for the first date. So dating can be expensive. So that's another con of being single, because if you do want to date, if you want to put yourself out there, I think the honest thing is that it's gonna cost some money. So yeah. All right, y'all, so let's get into these pros. All right, so the first pro of being single is I just feel like you're more open. And what I mean by that, I mean like I notice, so like when I'm by myself, I feel like my presence of being a single person, a person by myself, attracts more people, attracts more attention. And let me explain that. Because when you're alone, I feel like you're more aware of your surroundings. If I'm with a group of people, if I'm with a partner, if I'm with someone else, like it's me and them, and we're in this environment. But when I'm by myself, like I can kind of create my environment wherever I am. So it's like, I think I've started like 1 or 2 of my friendships from just like being by myself and like another person by myself, like, hey, you want to eat together? Or like, hey, you want to like join? Like you want to like, I mean, that stuff can happen when you're with other people, but I feel like when you're alone, when you're single, you're more aware of your surroundings and just aware of other single people. And I feel like you can just, those are the ways you could like create and start new adventures, which I feel like is super dope. So that's definitely one pro of being single. And then pro. Number 2, which is pretty broad, but I think is important, is that just, I feel like you can just be more selfish. Not to say I want to be selfish, but being selfish is not a bad thing. I feel like you be more selfish and just do whatever you want. Like, you can just wake up and just decide, what does Aminah want to do? Like, you don't gotta think about another human and their thoughts and their feelings, which sounds weird, but it's like, it's just real. Obviously, if I'm in a relationship, I always want to be considerate and embracing of my partner's feelings and their thoughts and what they want to do. But if I'm single, like, it's just me, just whatever's up here, I can, all right, let's go, let's do it. Like, and I think that's a beautiful thing and that's a dope thing. So I think that's important. Number three pro for about being single is you have more time for other things, for friends, for other stuff like that. So for me right now, I've been taking a lot of intentional time and energy into being curious about the friendships that I have. When I was talking about earlier about physical intimacy and stuff like that, like, for me personally, I'm trying to create space that, like, I'm not only dependent on physical touch, like hugs and cuddles and stuff like that from people I'm in a relationship with. Like, I feel like there's no issue that if I'm friends with someone, like, we can have a movie date and cuddle and like watch this movie. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with platonic intimacy or platonic things like that. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. With that being said, I've been really intentional figuring out what it is I do want in a friendship. And so, but since I'm single, I have that time, that energy to put more into my friendships. Not to say that your friendships should go by the wayside because you're in a relationship, because I don't think that's true. But I think when you do make a commitment to another person, you're committing a certain level of time and energy to that person, to building, to talking, to hanging out, to getting to know each other. And I think that's important. So when you're not putting that time into that, you're able to allot it to other things, whether it's things you want to do, whether it's your other friendships, whether it's whatever. So your time is yours and you got more time, you got more time. Number 4, this kind of aligns with number 3, but it's a little bit different. And I feel like when you're single, I feel like it just allows for more time for introspection, allows for more time of self-care and healing. Now, before somebody goes to my throat saying, oh, it's because your relationship doesn't mean like it's important, doesn't mean you can't have self-care, like you're supposed to take care of yourself, like blah, blah, blah. I completely agree that when you're in a relationship, you still need to maintain your own self-care and your own introspection. There's still a lot of things that you need to do to maintain and take care of yourself as a human. But what I'm saying is, like, when you are single, I feel like it just naturally, I don't know, I feel like you have more time, so you have more energy and space and everything for that. And I don't know, I think that's valid. And also I think the healing that you do when you're single and the healing that you do in a relationship can be different. It doesn't have to be, but I think it can be very different. So number 5, and I think this is honestly one of the most important ones. I'm just prefacing right now. But when you are single, a pro of being single is you do not have to share your food. You order a cheeseburger, that whole cheeseburger is yours. You order some fries, that whole plate of fries is yours. Like, I just think, don't get me wrong, I don't mind sharing. I know those people that like hate sharing my food, but it's just like, like, half of those fries when you're in a relationship aren't going in your stomach. Like, and I think these are really important things you need to think about before you decide to get yourself into a relationship. Are you ready to take those fries and give them to somebody else? And if the answer is no, then maybe, I don't know, I'm not a relationship coach, but I'm gonna just leave it there. You don't gotta share your food if you're single. Number 6, and this is the last one for this list, the last pro. And I think this is particular to me and my lifestyle, but I just feel like being single, pro of it is that I have a lot more freedom with my travel. Now, this can mean many things. As I've traveled, I've dated people, I've dated a lot of people with a lot of different backgrounds. I've dated people that are local to the countries I've lived in. I've dated other foreigners. I don't really think I've dated that many people. I haven't really dated people from the US. I try to stay away from them. I'm just kidding. No, but I've dated people from the States. But the whole concept of my lifestyle living abroad is like, a pro is like not having to deal with, not having to navigate the nuances of bringing another person into that. And I don't even mean that just like day to day, like, oh, you want to do this or whatever, but like, does that person have a passport? Does that person have a job that allows them to travel? What does that even look like in a relationship? Like, are you just gonna join me at certain parts, or are you gonna come with me and like live abroad with me and travel? Like, I think there's so many things to unpack there. And there's so many things that I think are kind of difficult, because I've had to have difficult conversations with people that I was interested in, whether it's like they just don't have a passport at all, or like they don't really have a love or a wanting of traveling or moving, and it's just like, you know, this is my life right now. Like, I'm not gonna say this is gonna be my life forever, but I mean, I don't think I'm gonna be in a relationship where I have to, because I definitely don't want to live my life in the United States. And I hope my future partner does it. I don't mind visiting the US and stuff like that, but as far as my life, I don't see my life being grounded within the United States. So I think that's an important thing. So when I'm single, as I've been single, I get to travel and do whatever, permitted my financials. That's one thing. That's one relationship that's always gonna be a little bit tricky, but we're getting through it. With that being said, that is the end of this video. That was 6 cons and 6 pros of being single and living abroad as a Black queer person. I hope you enjoyed this video. Actually, I know you enjoyed this video because it was hilarious and I enjoyed making it for y'all. On that note, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you look down below here and you hit that subscribe button and you click that little bell and click all notifications, so every time I post a video or something, you're notified of it. With that being said, if you want to watch something else, go ahead and check out one of these 2 videos here. Make sure you subscribe, and make sure if you thought something was interesting in this video, or you have another comment or pro you want to add down below, make sure you put those down below in the comments. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about this. And if anyone has any rich relatives or friends that like to travel, that you know, are also queer and are self-aware, and let me stop. Anyway, I'll see y'all in the next video, and thank you so much for watching. Peace.